saw the driver, brandish a pistol. And it was all I could do was just to kind of flinch and duck. And that first shot, man, I know that first shot hit me right in the back. Hit me because I was kind of bladed like this. It hit me right here and went in my lap. And I knew I was hit, right off the bat because my whole left side of my body went numb. And in those, what felt like 5 minutes of gunfire, man, which was only a couple seconds, man, they shot my car pretty good.
Brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
You're listening to the Black and Blue Podcast, a discussion and celebration of the roles of African Americans and other minorities in U.S. law enforcement. Your host on the Black and Blue Podcast is Dale Peters, a law enforcement professional with over 20 years experience in the business. Hop on board this Black and Blue train of interviews, current events, and pop culture conversations. So get ready. The Black and Blue Podcast is coming at you right now. What up, Black and Blue fam? Welcome to the Black and Blue Podcast, where we celebrate diversity in U.S. law enforcement. Y'all know me. My name is Dale, and I'm the host. Thank you for stopping by because I got a real good one for you here today. But before we get into that, let me ask you, please click those like, subscribe, and bell icons right down here on my YouTube channel. And if you're listening to me on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you rate the Black and Blue Podcast 5 stars. And finally, excuse me there. Finally, make sure you check me out on any one of my social media pages for even more content. You can find me everywhere at Black and Blue US. All right, so now that we did that, let's do this. My guest today, he's a sheriff's lieutenant in the beautiful state of North Carolina. So Black and Blue fam, let's welcome to the show, Durham County Sheriff's Office Lieutenant, Anthony Sharp. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Oh man, I can't call it. I appreciate the love with the LA hat there.
See it, baby. You see it. Got to represent.
Absolutely. You're not from out this way, though, are you?
Nah, man. I'm an East Coast cat, man. I gotta show love to the West Coast guys. I got a couple guys that from out there, man. I've met that spent some time out there, grew up, and they moved back to Texas now. But I gotta show love to the good West Coast, man. I played ball here in North Carolina. We went out to my time in Cali was over at St. Louis Obispo. We played Cal Poly. It didn't end up well for us, man, but the beautiful state of California is all love, bro.
Yeah, it is. It is beautiful, and St. Louis is beautiful up there too. It's about a few hours north of here, north of LA, and okay. But North Carolina is beautiful as well. LA, we had some real love going on this summer with Kendrick. He was showing out for the whole West Coast, mostly LA area. So appreciate that. Appreciate that. What ball did you play?
I play football.
Football, okay, yep. Okay.
Yeah, football out here.
All right. What position did you play?
I got recruited as an athlete, man, and then they don't really do that anymore. But got recruited as an athlete. I was a big time running back, and I was a return specialist. But got to college, and of course, being a young guy, I'm 18 years old. I'm trying to get on the field any way I can. So changed over to defense and play a little DB. But I was on the bigger side for DB, so got switched to strong safety, and then finished my career outside linebacker, man. So it's a good time.
Okay, how long ago was that?
I graduated in 2010, so it's been a little minute. All right, congratulations.
and you call North Carolina home. Where is Durham County for those of us that don't know?
So Durham County is, it's very small, kind of like almost upper central North Carolina. Close to our capital. Our next county over is Raleigh. Raleigh's the capital of North Carolina. So it's right outside of Raleigh. So it's that Raleigh-Durham area, if you're familiar with North Carolina, man. So beautiful county. I think we service a lot of people. I think it's probably close to, it's growing. I don't even know the numbers, but Durham's consistently growing. I think Google's going to slide out here. Apple's out here. We got some big hubs. We got the biggest hub on the East Coast with Amazon. So things are growing, man. And we're in a big technological district out here. So technology district.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that have moved out there, and I've been meaning to get out there because it's beautiful. Are you close to which school? North NC State or
So in our triangle, what we call a triangle, close to. So I'm from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So we're close to UNC, and then we obviously have Duke here in Durham, and then NC State is in Raleigh. So three big schools here that are pretty close. And then the school I went to was North Carolina Central, which is here local in Durham, Division I AA school, historically Black College University. As you know, I got a shout out to HBCU, man. It was a great experience at North Carolina Central University. So shout out to all the Eagles out there, but also all the HBCU collegiate athletes and as well students. It's a beautiful experience.
it is? Like I was telling you off air, my daughter goes to Howard, so she's experiencing that firsthand right now. And the vice president went to that school, and maybe she'll be the president. Time will tell. But this is not a political show. Let's get let's get into you and talk about what's going on with Lieutenant Sharp. How long you been with the county sheriff's office there?
I've been with the county for almost 13 years. So right after college, within 6 months, man, I was employed with our local police department. So I worked there for about 8 or 9 months, and then transferred over to the county. And I've been with them ever since. So it's been a good ride, man. I'm almost at the halfway mark. And of course, out here, it's a full 30 out here, man. So I'm saving every little bit of sick time. Hopefully I can get out of here 2 years earlier, but we rocking and rolling. It's went by fast.
What made you want to switch from the city to the county?
Well, it's a lot more opportunities in the county, man. It's PD. It's a lot of it's a bigger department, but as you know, those bigger departments sometimes you can get lost and feel like a number. So they're actually very short-handed right now. So I kind of got out a little early, came over to the sheriff's office where a lot more opportunities. It was a growing agency. We weren't really caught up with technology and uniforms and all the kind of cool cars, but we still have resources, a lot of time to grow. So but being a bigger municipal agency, a lot of more things, SRO, narcotics, civil division. We got, DV, full blown investigators division. We also in-house animal services unit, and tons of special teams. So we got Sheriff's Emergency Response Team, which is like our SWAT. I'm actually a team leader on SWAT. We got search and recovery. We got HDU, or hazardous devices unit. NRT. It's a full blown. We're one of the third largest sheriff's offices in the state of North Carolina. So it's a big sheriff's office.
Nice. And then so you switched over and you loving it. Tell us about your career progression in the sheriff's office.
So started off, man, and I was actually during the time, and it was back in 2012. We were actually building a new multi-million-dollar courthouse, and it's right in the heart of Durham. So they actually hired a lot of us on because of that reason, so they could fill the staffing in the courthouse. So right after FTO, field training office, right after field training, I got sent to courts, which I kind of knew that was going to happen because that's what we were recruited for. So we had a lot of young guys in the court system, working as bailiffs, working as building security. So I did that for 7 months, and then went back out to the road after 7 months. And I stayed on the road for another 4.5, 5 years. In that time, was able to get a lot of training, became an FTO myself, intoxilizer. I was able to get on the SWAT team. And so I did that for about 4.5 years, got pulled off, went to what we call SACNARC. It's our Sheriff's Anti-Crime and Narcotics Unit. Most people call it like Vice and Narcotics.
Okay.
So I did that for 2 years. And then during that time, there was a change up, obviously working for a politician. Here the sheriff is an elected official. Things came in, they made some changes. They want to put some people in different places, kind of stretch out some of their resources. So I got sent back to patrol, being one of the newest detectives in narcotics. So they were like, hey, look, you one of the newer ones. We want to keep some veteranship here. So they moved me back to patrol. And by that time, man, I was into, maybe my 8th or 9th year, I believe, my 9th year going into my 10th year. And I'm like, I'm coming back to the road as a somewhat of a veteran deputy, but 9.5, 10 years on the road. I've been in narcotics, so I had that training, did a lot of federal cases and worked a lot of stuff. I've been on the SWAT team and been trained. And I told the lieutenant when I was going back to the squad, I said, look, I'm not disgruntled. I want to come back and I want to be an asset to you for a lot of these young guys. And I took a very young, I don't want to say they weren't proactive. It's just they needed that push. So coming from narcotics, I was able to teach a lot of those guys some of the skill sets. and we rocked and rolled, man. We were a very proactive squad, and we did a lot of things. And the lieutenant was like, "Man, look, you need to start pushing for promotion." And so a corporal position came open. I applied for it, and I got that. Got moved to another patrol squad with a new fresh set of guys. I actually had a sergeant and lieutenant that were on the verge of retirement within a year or two. So it was kind of like drinking water from a fire hose, man. They put it on me really early and said, "Hey, look, I know you're coming over here as a corporal, but we're going to be retiring in a year and a half. So we need you to pick up the slack." So learned really quickly from our sergeant. And then he got transferred out. So I kind of stepped up in that role. I ended up getting promoted to sergeant on the same squad. And then my lieutenant went out. She was injured. She had a shoulder injury, but she went out. She said, "Hey, Sarge, I'm going out on this shoulder surgery, and I'm not coming back. She's gonna milk it and she's gonna ride on to the sunset." So she was a fantastic supervisor. But she prepared me for that moment. And then another spot came up. We had another lieutenant retiring on another squad. And that squad morale was a little low over there. They had a lot of young guys, but the older regime over there kind of micromanaged, and I was able to get promoted again. So within, like I said, man, 2.5 years, I went from a deputy to a lieutenant pretty quickly, bro. So yeah.
Wow. Right place, right time. And also, you were doing some good work over there, and they noticed that, they saw that, and they wanted to push you up as well. So
yes, sir. That was it, man. It was
that's good stuff.
Like I said, man, it was tough. It was some growing pains, and I had to learn fast. But I've been a lieutenant now for about 1.5 years on this squad I've been on. Really good group of young guys. We kind of changed the tide. I don't want to say it was me. I think those guys were already really trained. They really already had that fire. They just needed somebody to bring that culture and bring it out of them. So very young practice squad. And we've got a couple guys promoted through that squad. And we'll have a lot more. Though the core group of guys I have will be the ones that will be running the agency down the road for sure. They're the future.
Yeah, that's what's up. So, you played ball, through college and all that. Had you ever thought about being in law enforcement before you went to play ball? And what was that kind of like for you?
So yeah, it was. In high school, I had a really good SRO. Shout out Rex Gibson. He retired from the Chapel Hill Police Department, which is from my hometown. Very former
SRO right here too.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, man. Yeah. SROs are the heart, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
they're the heart. So he made a really big impact on me. Was very active in my life. Was always around, helping with sports. Was always there to help us out, answer any questions we had. So he made a really big impact on me. And really changed. I don't want to say I had a bad perception of cops. I didn't grow up hating the police. Always had a good relationship with law enforcement. Never had been in any trouble. So I kind of went into college knowing that I wanted to concentrate and have a career in law enforcement. So I was one of the ones that most athletes go in, they want to do phys ed or business or something like that. I kind of knew going in I wanted to do law enforcement for sure.
So is that what you studied?
That's what I studied. Yep. I went in. That was my major. I went in knowing exactly what I wanted to do. And plus, man, I was like, look, any profession I can go in where I don't have to take a whole bunch of math class because I hate math. Like that was one of the keys. But law enforcement, man, it just made sense. And everybody's dream, playing collegiate sports is to play on a big level in the NFL. My senior year, coming out of my senior year, is when I was graduating, was the year they had that big lockout. And I didn't have very high expectations of making it to the league. I was again Division I. I was a little bit undersized. I didn't have the career that I wanted. I was able to be a team captain for my junior, my senior year, but I didn't have any type of amazing numbers. But it was a good experience. Became a leader on the team, and we won some good games and we played some good football. But I knew ahead of time. I kind of went in saying, hey, man, I didn't come here to go to school. I came here to play football. But, somewhere along the way in the middle, I met and I said, look, if I can't go pro in football, I need to go pro in something else. And so I took my education serious and got my degree and I went pro in something else.
There you go. Yep. Went pro in life. And then those life experiences, teamwork and camaraderie and all that you learned playing football from high school and college, obviously, carried over to your law enforcement career, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. And then, so then you were at that police department. How long were you at that PD?
I was at the local PD for I got hired in May and I stayed there until about December. So good little time. It was a good little time. It was a short part of my career. Still have a lot of friends over there. Still work very closely with the police department. I know a lot of the people in the high up in the chain. I know the chief. But it was time for me to move on and make some choices. And I think sometimes you hit that fork in the road, and you got to make your own life choices. And life told me to go left, and I went left. I'm glad I did.
Right. And I know you said you didn't really have any issues with police growing up, and that's kind of why you kind of wanted to do law enforcement. But what about your people, your friends, your family? What do they think about you going into law enforcement?
Yeah, I'm first generation. I'm the first and only law enforcement officer in my family. Obviously, specifically in my immediate family, but in my family in general, I'm the only law enforcement officer. So I didn't have any, family members that kind of growing up saying, hey, I was what we call legacy, where my grandfather was a cop, my uncle was a cop, my dad was a cop, and I just became a cop. I just found it that there was a point where I knew I could fit in this profession, and I knew I could do well being a part of a team, following a goal and having a mission, and helping people. Everybody they ask you why you start, and everybody says I want to help people, and I have a genuine heart to help people. I think along the way I've done a pretty good job at leading people. So I thought it was a perfect career field for me to kind of go and be a part of that change.
Yeah. But did you get any pushback from anybody?
I don't want to say I had any pushback. There were some friends that kind of had to separate from, that I could kind of, salute them from a distance. But not very much pushback. I didn't really lose any family or any friends. Everybody kind of accepted me for who I was and what I was doing. And I think I've mended those relationships, and I've kept them along the way. And the ones I need to stay close to, I stay close to. And the ones I need to keep distance, I keep distance.
Yep.
But it's all love. It's all love.
All love. But now at the family dinners and gatherings, do you get all the questions though?
Oh man, I get all the questions. You know how it is, man. When you're in that mode and you're off work, you don't want to talk about work.
No. I
get it. My mom will call me and say, "Hey, I saw a bunch of police cars on the highway. What's going on?" I'm like, "Mom, I'm not at work. Like, I don't know what's going on." When I come home, when I get off of work and I get out of my uniform and this radio gets put on the charger, I shut my computer down. I don't check emails. I completely zone out from it until it's time for me to clock back in. So I have to have that separation. But yeah, at all the gatherings, it's what about this? And then of course, if there's anything controversial, it's like I'm the only cop people know. So anything controversial comes up, they want to know my opinion on it. Obviously that was big, started, back in Ferguson with Mike Brown. And then obviously we had the George Floyd situation. We had Freddie Gray in Baltimore. So that was a rough time, man, because so many people were leaning on me to kind of speak out against, what was going on, and they were looking for my opinion. And that was heavy, bro. That was a couple of heavy years where, I had some sleepless nights just kind of going back and forth with people on Facebook. And I had to realize that I had to really disconnect from that. So,
yeah. But, one good thing about, and that's the name of the show, Black and Blue, the duality of us, being Black, wearing this badge, so we got to kind of, walk both lines, and it's a good thing because, we let our people know, what officers are thinking about in these situations, and you got to keep it real, keep it 100. When I see a cop doing something bad, I'll call that out as well. So you got to keep it real and keep it honest.
Absolutely. You have to. That's what they're expecting of us, man. There's a different level of different standard that we hold we hold ourselves to. So yes. I agree.
Yep. 100. Did you find, going in law enforcement, that the culture change? I know it's, kind of the same as team sports, but, it's a little different, and you had to learn how to talk to people, how to deal with people, cause it's not a pretty profession all the time. It's not going to be, textbook all the time. Did you find yourself, having to learn things quickly, and it was it hard for you? Was it easy for you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've always been a people's person, man. So getting along with people, I grew up in a very diverse community, so I can kind of, I can go from one part of town to the other, and I can adapt wherever I go in any setting I can adapt to. So it's always going to be difficult building new relationships and networking. But I try to keep work, and I try to keep business. I try to keep personal stuff. But
Yeah.
it was tough, dealing with a lot of different emotions. People have a lot of different opinions. Some are very strong in their opinions and how they do things. Some people move differently. But I'm a Gemini too, man. So I pick up on signs and energy
Uh-oh.
and all that other type of stuff, man. So I'm big in reading people and knowing who I need to kind of keep close and who I need to keep a distance from. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
So let me ask you. So as a person that went from a city PD to a county sheriff's office, there's talking about culture. Those are different cultures in and of themselves as well. So
Mhm.
talk about the differences. You got an elected official. I know out here when 2020 was going down, and a lot of sheriffs were able to speak their mind because they are elected officials, whereas maybe a police chief who's beholden to a mayor and a city council maybe not is able to do that as much.
Yeah, man, it's a big piece. Working for an elected official. Obviously, the first thing you have to worry about is the sheriff. It's the highest law enforcement entity in this county. He can hire and fire at will. I mean, the sheriff can literally come up to you, and because he doesn't like the way you look or the way your uniform is, he can fire you on the spot, and there's nothing solely you can really do about that. The other hard part is that every 4 years there's an election, so you don't know if the new person is coming in. Are they going to change things, especially when you start climbing up the ranks and you start getting into those higher upper echelon positions? Things change, right? And people, it's almost like I'll kind of compare it to um, a college coach going to a school and bringing another defensive coordinator, bringing in his
Yeah.
offensive line coach, bringing in his OC, bringing in special team. It could change. The players essentially don't change, but the key pieces do. So working for an elected official, it's special, right? Because we do have a lot of power. We can speak. The sheriff can speak out a little bit more versus a police chief working for the mayor, where it's kind of you're on that contract. I think the average time for a police chief, I think, is about 3 to 5 years, I believe.
Mm,
But a sheriff can get in, man, and plug in and have those political connections, and you might have a sheriff that can, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, man, can stay seated.
right.
So it
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah. You were talking about, there were some changes in leadership at the top level. Are they usually internal? I know, you can run an open campaign, open election, but usually the incumbent, just like in most elections, has the inside track. But do you find that people running from the police chief of the neighboring city that they decided they want to run for sheriff, or is it usually internal guys that are running?
It's usually internal, and I think it's kind of set up that way, which is why you'll have a lot of sheriffs. Essentially, here the sheriff has to run for at least has to be employed as a sheriff for 10 years. So, but obviously the term are 4 years. So you think I'm like, man, why wouldn't they do 12 years for them to attain that sheriff's retirement? But they do it as 10, so that those last 2 years the sheriff could essentially step down and and put in place who he feels would be best to run that agency, at least give him a leg up for the last 2 years to say, hey, look, this is how you run an office. Here are the political connections you need to make. So he's well prepared versus the other candidates coming in. So usually that's how it's run, man. Very seldomly does somebody come, somebody's retired from another agency and happens to live in the county and runs and gets it. Usually you have to be well connected, and usually it's
Yeah,
well with inside for sure.
exactly. And so you were talking about earlier all the things that you've done in that short amount of time that you've been there. I mean, it's not a short amount of time for you. You figure you've been there for a while, but you've done a lot, and you've reached the goal of the rank of lieutenant now. Talk about some of your favorite assignments, some of the favorite things you've done in your career so thus far.
I think my favorite assignment, um, man, I honestly believe that my favorite assignment was being a sergeant. I think that's the most
Okay,
pivotal piece, being a sergeant. Um,
a
it's
patrol
because
sergeant.
you're kind of right in the middle. Yeah, I was a sergeant on patrol at the time, um, and I think it's great, man, because the lieutenant can do their thing, but you're kind of middle. You have a lot of authoritative power, a lot of supervisory powers, but you also have a lot of power to really impact, because you're that middle ground between the lieutenant or the captain and the troops. So I think that was probably my favorite position. I had to learn fast, especially with my lieutenant. going out on injury. So there's a lot of times, and we didn't have a corporal at the time because my corporal had resigned and left law enforcement. So that was, I think it was about a 7-month span where I didn't have a lieutenant and I didn't have a corporal. So it was some hard, long days, long nights, man, of me kind of grinding, getting to know my guys and learning on the fly. And I had to really learn to delegate, really had to learn what it meant to work as a team and depend on a lot of those guys to do a lot of those supervisory things that the corporal would be doing or what the sergeant would be doing as well, because I had to kind of step up in that lieutenant role. So it was good, man. It was challenging. It pushed me. I got out there and I beat the street with my guys and we got our hands dirty, worked as a team. We pulled it together, man. So I think that was probably my favorite position so far.
So you were actually out on the street working with your guys, and you wasn't just in there in the office waiting to be called out, for a critical incident.
Nah, man. I believe in getting my boots dirty, man. And it still is a lieutenant today. It's a lieutenant. I answer calls, I take reports, I stop cars, I chase cars, I jump out and run people down.
Come on, LT. Come on.
Bro, that's what it's about, man. If I want those guys to be doing it, I have to show them what that looks like. So I'm very active, man. And a lot of times, people say, man, I think you're doing too much, man. You're the lieutenant. You're supposed to be sitting back chilling, but leadership is big. Those guys got to see you. So I believe in working with my guys, man. So a lot of times when we're doing nighttime ops, I'm sitting somewhere in the cut or in the bushes with the binos, and I'm calling things out to those guys, and they're stopping them, and we're working together, running it down, man. That's how I get it, man. I'm a part of a team. Everybody has a role, and I'm not going to tell you to do something I'm not willing to do myself.
That's what's up. So you were talking about, people coming and going at your department. What's it look like now as far as your numbers? Are you guys hurting like, most agencies around the country now are?
Well, I think around the country, man, law enforcement in general is probably taking some hits. I don't really know if this profession is appealing to a lot of people. So that's the struggle we're dealing with. It's these young folks that are coming in now. They want a lot of money and they're not willing to do a lot of work to get it. So we're having to adjust to that and find out how to keep those young folks around. But here in North Carolina, man, we've been hitting pretty hard in the detention side for the sheriff's office anyway. Not a lot of people want to be detention officers. So I think our agencies we're dual certifying a lot of people in our agency. Pretty much every law enforcement officer in our agency is becoming dual certified as law enforcement as well as corrections to kind of backfill the detention facilities. And we're struggling here in North Carolina. I'm pretty sure across other states are doing the same thing because not many people want to do that line of work, man. Many people don't want to be cops anymore. They don't want to do detention. People want the easy way. I mean, why would you want to come out here and work hard for something when I can essentially get on the internet, make a viral TikTok video, and I can be, a millionaire?
Right. Yeah, that's where we are in today's society. But, once that starts to cool off, we may see people, because, there's always going to be a role for people that want to join law enforcement, but, it's becoming fewer and fewer. You were talking about the detention officers. What's the kind of progression of a sheriff's office? Did, most people out of the academy, they got to go to custody or something, right?
So most people, I mean, we've always had it a way where people it's always been kind of a two-sided house, right? We have detention and we have law enforcement. For so long, we've kind of been split. So you could go to detention or you could go LEO and not necessarily cross over. We would also have some people that would start off in detention and obviously want to become law enforcement. And so they were in-house. We could pull from those resources in-house and get them certified. But here recently with some staffing issues that we've been dealing with, we've had to essentially go and assist the detention facility in a lot of spots, running the pods, doing extra security details, whatever the case may be, to kind of backfill to support our brothers and sisters over there, because it's not their fault, right? It's not the agency's fault. It's just the way of the world, and we got to work together as a team. The sheriff has a job to do, and we're sworn under him to do his due diligence and serve, to be a part of him. And the jailhouse runs, so we've been tasked with getting the training, going there and helping out as well. So it's been a tough process, but I think it's well worth it.
But normally out of the academy, where's a rookie go?
Normally out of the academy, he stays. It depends on the needs of the agency, right? Some guys stay on patrol. We've had a lot of young guys, go through our 12-week process at FTO, and they become a school resource officer. Which I'm not a huge fan of a guy, doing 12 weeks and then going to work to schools. I think everybody needs to cut their teeth on the
Yep.
road. And before you have a bunch of young kids, you might have a 21-year-old kid going into a school setting, and he doesn't have any learn how to talk to people, let alone deal with kids and talk with
That
other
part.
grown adults in regards to admin. But usually that's how we do it. Usually our track, you get out FTO and you go based upon the needs of the agency. So you might have somebody there might be vacancies in schools. We've had vacancies in like a warrant squad situation. Some guys, essentially we've had some special occasions where guys will come out and based upon if they're bilingual, they'll go right to narcotics. I mean, I've seen it happen.
Wow. Wow.
Which is strange. It's been very few and far, but we've had that happen. One or two times I've seen it in my tenure here at the agency, where somebody's went straight from field training to narcotics. So
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy right there. That's crazy.
yeah,
But
crazy work. Now I will say that situation particularly worked out. Everybody was kind of like, man, I don't know. And I had an opportunity when I went to narcotics. That officer was in narcotics, and it did extremely well. But to me, I'm just like, you hear about it, you're like, man, that's crazy work, bro.
yeah,
So,
exactly. It's interesting you because I asked you that because out here in Cali, most sheriff's offices, once they get out the academy, they got to work custody. That'd be either in the jail or courts or transportation. And out here, because we're talking about the culture, I was asking you that earlier, is because they do work custody. They're up close and personal with the inmates and with the jail inside the jails and all that. They know how to talk to people. So then when they get out on the street, they already kind of have that within them because they've been working side by side and talking to these people for however long they were in custody.
right, and that's worked out for a lot of us. Now that we're doing it, most people who come through our agency who are waiting to go to BLET, our basic law enforcement training, they first go to BDOT, which is our basic detention officer training. I'm actually taking that course right now. I've been in for a week. It's a truncated course where it's about 2.5 weeks where we're learning the basics of things that we didn't get in BLET, and then we'll take the full set exam to be certified in it. So it's actually very, very new. We're one of the first agencies to kind of bring that program here, and it's worked well. We've got the vast majority of the agency trained. So, but I see, going back to your point, the folks that come from the detention side of the house that come over to law enforcement, they are able to build a rapport and talk to people better than the cops on this side of the house because they've been housed with these inmates or these detainees for so long. So most people on the street that they're dealing with, they've dealt with them in a pod, or they've seen them in and out the facility. So they know how to de-escalate. They know how to handle themselves on their own. So it's beneficial for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Because it's different when you're in the pods there, when you're in the jail, because all you got is you might have a baton, or more than likely all you got is a flashlight, and you don't have that firearm to a lot of younger officers are leaning on that firearm as we see in these viral videos a little too quickly. So you got to learn how to talk to people and throw hands if you need to. People understand that sometimes officers got to throw hands, and but when you throw hands and you get him into custody, he's still alive. He or she is still alive. It has to stop, but that person is still alive, right? So people wonder if we don't know how to train, if we don't know how to take people into custody, physically, go hands on, then you pick the wrong profession, right?
Absolutely.
You got to go hands on. You got to go hands on at some point.
I think a lot of people are, like you said, a lot of people are, they're afraid of that. They're afraid to go hands on. They're afraid to get injured. And they rely, just like they rely on their handgun. I see a lot of officers relying on that taser, man.
Yeah, rely on the taser too. Yeah,
they rely on it. I mean, heavily. And you gotta be. That's the importance of physical fitness, man.
Yes.
You got to train. In the academy setting, you working out 3 days a week. I'm a PT instructor as well at our agency, and that's the first thing I tell these guys because it's one of the first courses in BLET curriculum is physical fitness. Right. And these guys go through an academy. They learn the basics of how to build a workout plan. They learn how to eat. I talk about the 3 major nutrients, proteins, fats, and carbs. They get a full layout of what it looks like to eat right, what it looks like to train, how to build your body, how to lose weight, how to gain muscle. And then they get out in the academy when there's no strict supervision and they have nobody tap them on the shoulder or wake them up at 6 o'clock in the morning to come work out. They resort back to their old ways and pick up their bad habits of eating. And then the shift work comes, and then all the stress comes, and all the trauma comes, and then we just keep pushing that down in that trash can until it overflows, man. And unfortunately, obesity runs heavily in this profession, and there's a lot of cops that are out of shape, that are not prepared, not fit for duty, which is sad. So
Yeah. That shift work is a mother though. It is tough, but you gotta
mhm.
you gotta actually get out there and put some thought into it. Take your lunch. Don't stop at the I don't know what the McDonald's or the Burger King
Yes,
out there, because it's the only thing that's open at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're hungry, right? So
mm,
you actually got to bring in that healthy food.
absolutely, yeah, 100%.
100%, 100%. So you said that being a sergeant was your most favorite assignment that you had. What about the least favorite?
My least favorite, I think my least favorite was probably my first assignment. And I'm saying this publicly now, but I hid it for a very long time in my career. I didn't let anybody know it was my worst. So this is my first time talking
It's just
about it.
us, bro. It's just us,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. So I mean, obviously being a 21-year-old cop, man, and getting out of FTO and being out there hitting the streets with my training officer and seeing what the real world looks like, I wanted to stay on the streets really bad. But I had to go to the courthouse to man that because we were so short staffed. It was a bigger building. And so that was probably my least favorite. I went from chasing bad guys and getting drugs and guns and making arrests, and having the freedom to ride around. And then I was stuck at the courthouse building, telling people to take their belts off and empty their pockets and put it into a little glass jar or tub jar and send it through an X-ray machine. And I was doing that for 8 hours a day. And it just became redundant. I felt like I could use my
Yeah.
talent so much more somewhere else. So that was probably my least favorite, but I made the best of it. I found a way to make my way from that security front door to a courtroom where there was an older deputy who I kind of clung to. And I said, man, show me the ropes, show me how to run a courtroom, show me how to stand up and open court, show me how to close court. And he put me in that position, and to the point where he sat back where I was opening court openly. And then, the judges saw it, the attorney saw it, and I had an opportunity to run that courtroom. I worked child support for the vast majority of my little 7-month span in the courthouse. So that was probably my least favorite stint, man, but I needed it because it humbled me. You know what I mean? Sometimes our least favorite assignments can be the one that humbles us. So it was good. It was
Yeah.
for the better.
And silver lining, you had weekends and holidays off too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It
So
was great, man. I had weekends off. I had holidays off. Man, we had an hour lunch, as well as our lieutenant gave us an hour to work out. So we had 2 hours of break, man. So I could come in the morning, get a workout in, eat an hour lunch, and by the time I got home, usually if I got off at 5 o'clock and went home, I was done for the day. Or I could go and work some extra off duty, pick up some extra shifts after work, and it was a great opportunity, man. I mean, it was good.
yeah, love that. So you said you got into law enforcement, and it's been a great thing for you. But who about some of your personal and professional role models that kind of shaped Anthony Sharp into who he is today? Is there anybody in particular, personally and professionally?
Yeah. So personally, I would say my father. God rest his
Okay.
soul. Was a good man, really, really good man. I miss my dad every single day, man. But he was a hardworking man. I mean, he was active in my life, and you know how important that is. As an African American, how important it is to have a present father. So my father raised me for the vast majority of my life, my adult life, I would say. Me and my brother, and he was always active, man. He showed me what it meant to be a leader. He showed me what it meant to be a man and be responsible. How to stand on your 10 toes and how to look at people in the eye. How to treat people, how to respond, how to be cool, calm, and collective. And he never quit, man. That man, he worked until the day he died, and he just never quit. And anything he did, he would always say, "Son, no matter what you do, never let him see you sweat. Right? Never let him see you sweat. Smile, shake a hand, and go in that closed door and punch a hole in the wall, but you never let him see you sweat." So
Mm.
he was probably my biggest personal role model, for sure, was my father. And then professionally, I had a lot of professional role models. Obviously, I talked to you about my SRO in high school, Rex Gibson. He was one of my big role models as well.
Yeah.
My older brother, going back to that personal side as well, was a big role model in my life. He played college football at Wake Forest University, so I had a role model there as well. And then as I got into the profession, There were some coaches along the way that really, really, kind of stepped in as a father figure to me. And then when I got into law enforcement, I was fortunate to have a lot of good leaders. My sergeant, when I was in narcotics, was probably my most influential role model. Another African American sergeant. He had a tough road, growing up in the profession. Was local to Durham and has done a heck of a job. But he had a huge impact on me and showed me what it meant to be black and blue, right? And that was big to have a kind of a big brother that I could look up to that looked like me to kind of make an impact on me. And he's a lieutenant now. I'm a lieutenant now, and he groomed me to step into this role, man. So shout out to Casey Norwood, man, Lieutenant. He was very, very influential and is still heavily involved in my life as well.
That's what's up. Well, what are the numbers like for African Americans and minorities in general in the sheriff's office?
Man,
and in positions of leadership as well.
So very high, man. We're in a very unique place at the sheriff's office, and here, especially in Durham. The sheriff is African American. The number 2, the chief, is African American. Both the 3 and 4, both the majors, are brown descent. One's African American, and then, I mean, there's a lot of leadership, a lot of captains. We have a few. We have one African American captain, but a lot of lieutenants. We have, I think, 3. No, we have 2 captains that are African American. There's about 3 lieutenants. 3 of the 4 patrol lieutenants are actually African American, and then a lot of the troops on the ground are African American. Man, it's we're very well represented here in Durham. I think on my squad specifically, it's 10 of us, and there are 2 that are Caucasian on my squad. Everyone else is black and brown. So we have a large representation here in Durham. The police chief is also black here in Durham. At our local agency, my NCCU, my alma mater, their chief is also black, and a lot of their command staff. So we have a lot of representation here in the triangle, man, of African Americans. The chief at Raleigh PD is African American. The chief at Apex is African American. The sheriff.
I've interviewed the Raleigh chief.
Have you?
Yeah. She's awesome.
Solid,
yeah.
Man. She's solid. I mean, at the Wake County, which is the next county over from us in Raleigh, their sheriff is African American. The county that borders us, Sheriff Fountain in Granville County, he's also African American. So we're well represented out here, man. I have a lot of role models and people to look up to step into their roles. So we're solid out here.
Okay. And what about the population of Durham County? You kind of mirror that as well?
Yeah, it's a very diverse community. We're well represented. It's I'd probably say it's pretty even, but Durham's always kind of historically been, a black town, city of medicine. Tobaccos was grown here. So African Americans and Hispanics, are really well represented here in Durham in the triangle, man. So it's pretty solid.
Love that. So let's talk about some story time here. Talk about a rewarding case or something that you've been involved in where you look back on your career and you were proud to be a part of that.
Ooh, so many, man. That's a really good question.
It could be something small.
I would actually say that it was probably when I was working narcotics. That was a very important part of my career, because that really taught me how to be the police, right? Working with a group of guys that you trusted, that you could confide in, and that were there to have your back. We did a lot of street work, man. I think in 2018, which was going into my first year in narcotics, there's the first year ever that the narcotics division hit one division of the year. We recovered just over 600 guns in that year. We put a lot of people in prison, not just because we want to put people in prison, but we put a lot of murderers, a lot of violent people behind bars, a lot of gang members. We cleaned the streets, man, with those 8-9 guys. We did some heavy work. So I was proud to be a part of that, proud to make an impact on our community, to bring some victims some relief and bringing some people into justice. Working with the DEA, working with the Marshals Task Force, working with HSI, We work with a lot of three-letter agencies and bringing people to justice, man. So I think being a part of that team, that core team when I was in narcotics, was very huge, very monumental in my career. We did a lot of good work, man. A lot of good work.
All right. And then on the flip side, talk about, a case or something that you've been involved in. Well, it's tough to handle, something that's, because like I said earlier, law enforcement is not pretty, talk about something like that that's been tough to be a part of.
Oh, absolutely. So I actually have a very unique story, man. November 14th of 2020, I was actually ambushed, off duty. I
Wow.
was in my personal car, and it was a Saturday, beautiful day, man. I can recall this story, man. It's just everything so vivid to me. It was a beautiful day. My wife and the kids had just left the house probably 10 minutes before I did. And I leave my neighborhood. I come out and I get to the first stoplight in my neighborhood. Again, it's 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. I'm off. I'm in my personal car, and a white and color Hyundai Sonata pulled up on me on my left and kind of stopped short. And noticed that it was heavy tint in the windows, but this was right in the peak of COVID. So, everybody was riding their cars with these blue medical COVID masks on their face. But this was very strange. This car kind of stopped off, kind of catty corner. I sit back behind the B pillar of my car, and the window rolled down. I could see two male figures in the car, African American men, that had hoods on their heads and that blue COVID mask. And one of them was trying to say something to me through. I had my windows rolled up, and I was trying to kind of figure out who it was I was interacting with, or trying to get my attention, because I didn't recognize the face. It was obviously covered up. And by the time I could really roll my window down to kind of gauge and see what was going on, saw the driver, brandish a pistol. And it was all I could do was just to kind of flinch and duck. And that first shot, man, I know that first shot hit me right in the back, hit me kind of, because I was kind of bladed like this. It hit me right here and went in my lap. And I knew I was hit, right off the back, because my whole left side of my body went numb. And in those, what felt like 5 minutes of gunfire, man, which was only a couple seconds, man, they shot my car pretty good. And my car was getting riddled with bullets, glass breaking. They say I've always heard when bullets are flying by you, like the ones that are flying by you that aren't very close are kind of like a whizzing, but the ones that are very close to your head, close to you, kind of like it sounds like a popping or a snapping sound. So I was getting a lot of that whiz pop, whiz pop, whiz pop, glass breaking. I could hear the bullets penetrate my vehicle, man. And it was unbelievable gunfire, and it was a very short amount of time. I didn't know if it was, I knew it had to be two shooters, because I kept hearing the succession of fire was different sounds of gunfire. My car was getting hit so much that I couldn't really tell, and I couldn't get a peek up to look to see, because when you're getting shot, man, they tell you about in the academy, when you get shot, man, when you're getting shot at, you get really small. No matter how big you are, you get really, really small. So all I could do was to get small and accelerate. I was able to get out of there, out of that road, and just to look up to see if they were kind of chasing behind me to kind of try to finish me off. And as I looked up, I could see one of the drivers were hanging out the window, and he fired one more round, skipped off my back trunk through my rear windshield and came out the front, and they kept on driving. So I was able to get to a safe spot and get out to try to assess my wounds. Being a SWAT guy, I've always kind of been able to self-assess. We go over, medic stuff all the time, but it was game time. And I remember getting out of my car, getting my Glock 19, putting it in my hand, and trying to find my cell phone. I couldn't find my cell phone, so I'm starting to panic. My heart's racing, I'm bleeding, and I didn't know how bad I was hit. And I'm trying to wave people down at the same time to get somebody to stop, to get some help. And of course, it's 10 o'clock on a Saturday. I have a gun in my hand, my car's been shot, I'm bleeding, and I'm African American. Let's be honest, right? So nobody's stopping, and I don't blame them. So finally, this young Caucasian male stopped and said, "Hey, how can I help you? What's going on?" I said, "Hey, look, man, I'm an off-duty cop. I've just been shot up here at the intersection. Can you tell me where I've been hit at so I can try to apply some pressure to my wounds?" And he was freaking out, and that freaked me out because he was freaking out. And so I told him to go into my trunk, and there was a towel because I couldn't put any tourniquet because I knew I'd been hit in the back. I just told him to hold pressure on my wound. I was able to find my phone, and I called in the communications and let communications know where I was and what had happened, and told her to send the cavalry. And by that time, another lady had stepped up. She was a nurse. She was able to kind of help that gentleman apply some pressure. And, within, maybe a minute or two, man, I had the cavalry coming, EMS coming, fire coming, police. sheriff's office coming. They loaded me up, threw me in the EMS bay. And I told my buddy who was a sergeant who had just got there, said, "Hey, you want me to call your wife?" And I said, "No, man, I'll call, because if you call, it's going to freak her out. You tell her what's going
Yeah.
on." And she hadn't talked to me. So I was able to call my wife, let her know what was going on, told her to drop the kids and meet me at the hospital. And it was a crazy ride to the hospital, man, full blown escort. And I think I stayed in the hospital for about 2 hours. It was a flesh wound, very clean, went in my back, hit all muscle, that hit any bones, any arteries. Came out of my front delt, so it came out right here, and then I got grazed on the tricep as well. But very clean wound, man. It kind of cauterized itself on the way through. They sent me home with some ibuprofen and some saline. So
Wow.
yeah, I was out of work for
God was looking out for you that day, brother.
100%. He was, man. I'm so grateful for it. So I was out of work for probably about 2 months, but I was back in the gym within 2 weeks, man. I couldn't sit. So had a lot of, the physical wounds healed very, very quickly, but it was the mental thing that kind of got me, man. A lot of the
Yes.
trauma, a lot of the post-traumatic stress. I had to get obviously I had to see a therapist for a lot of things and work through that. Now I'm heavily involved in peer support. And I feel good, man. I'm in a good place right now. Worked on some coping skills, and still, I still have some nightmares here or there, but I'm working through that. I got everything under control, and I know who to reach out to if I need to talk to somebody. So it was tough. Sorry to berate you with a long story, man. That was life changing for me.
No, man. Talk your talk, and I'm glad that you're here. Did they ever catch the guys?
Yeah, they caught him. They caught one
Okay.
the next day. Is with the weapon. The other guy was on probably about a 2 month manhunt. They caught him. One of them just actually got sentenced on some federal charges. They took it fed. He got sentenced to about 20 years in prison. I'll be good and retire when he gets out. My kids will be in college, so I'm happy about that. The other one's still awaiting trial, and he'll do his time though. He'll do his time.
Did they target you, or was it like a carjack or what?
So it's kind of unknown, man. It's kind of one of those 50-50 things. Neither one of them will really talk or cooperate, obviously. So not sure if it was targeted or if it was mistaken identity. I'm not really sure if they thought I was somebody else or if they knew I was the police, and they were and it was some type of hit. I don't see why it would be a hit, because I treat everybody with respect. It ain't like I'm taking out El Chapo or nothing like that. So I'm not sure why somebody would want to put a hit out on me, but you never know nowadays. You never know who you've pissed off, who you've hurt, who you made to feel a certain way because you've taken their father to jail or their homeboy or whatever. So until I know the real story, I'm going to take it as a threat.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. So, you say you were talking about, it's going to be a while before they get out and you be good and retire. What's the next step for you in the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
So in the next 5 years, I have 13 years on. So next 5 years, I'll be 18. So hopefully within the next 5 years, man, I'm in a more senior position. I'd love to, at that point, be stepping my role into a captain, and being in some type of admin position. I've kind of set my career there. I've never been the one to just kind of push for promotion. Having rank on my collar that's not really important to me, but I know how important it is to be in a position of influence to make the change I want to see happen. A lot of guys will stay in their position and complain about bad leadership and supervision and command staff, but they won't fight to get in those seats to actually push some change. So just like how I got in law enforcement, people talk all the time about, cops are corrupt, cops are dirty, cops don't do this, cops don't do that. But we got applications and nobody wants to fill them out. So
Yes.
in 5 years,
Yep.
man, I see myself in some type of admin position, hopefully leading the division, and making my way to continue to ascend, and continue to push change.
Yeah, love to hear it. So, we are human. People expect us to be perfect in this profession. We're not. Talk about some, a mistake or two that you made along the way that you learned from, and that made you a better officer and a better person, better man.
Man, early on in my career, I think I took relationships and spending time with family. I think I took that lightly. And losing my dad, and I wish I was able to have to spend more time with him. but I was so focused on the job. I was so focused on, getting my next case when I was narcotics or busting that next drug dealer. And I would stay late for work, and I get home and I wasn't spending as much time with my wife and being as invested as I could have. And I could see how that was putting the strain on her, how I was putting on the strain on my family. And it was very selfish of me. My mom would always ask, you don't come around. And I'm always like, hey, I got work. I have work. I have work. And I put a lot of things before my family. This job will do that to you, though, man, because it's a beast in itself. And if you stay invested, this job will rule you, it'll control you. Getting to that next promotion or getting to that next, trying to close that case out, staying late for work, working off duty to kind of, make that money. And I've learned, man, and that was, it had some hard conversations had to be had for me to kind of understand how much hurt I was pushing on people, how many people I were pushing away, my family, my wife, whatever the case may be, mom, dad, brother. And now I have 3 kids, man. So I think it's important for us to step away. I remember I talked about earlier in the show that, when I'm off work, man, I'm off work. I find my identity in who I am, and who I am is not a lieutenant. Who I am is a father. I'm a husband. I'm a son. That's who I am at the core. So I really believe in that. And I push that, and I understand what that looks like now, being there for my kids, I'm not missing birthdays. I'm not missing soccer games. I'm not missing softball games. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be present for my wife, and be present for my kids, and be present for the people in my life who mean so much to me. Because if something happens to me today and I lose my job, they're going to have somebody else wear my uniform. They're going to have somebody else drive my car and type on my computer. So focus on what's important. That's family.
That's family. Love that. Love that. So we're talking about, we need to bring more young folks into this profession to kind of take on after we gone. So how about some words of advice for anyone that's aspiring to be in law enforcement today?
So anybody that's aspiring to be in law enforcement, man, you got to understand that this profession, you don't choose this profession. This profession chooses you, and it's a life of service, right? It's a very honorable position. You have a lot of power and a lot of influence to change a lot of lives. So if you're thinking about joining law enforcement and it's on your mind, consider it. Is this something that you really want to do? Is it dangerous? Absolutely. And I've told you about my story, but those are the things of the job. But I'm a survivor, and I'm here to tell you that, it's not as bad as you think it is. But if you really want change, we need more people to join these professions to do the work, right? Because this is God's work we're doing. And it's going to take a hard person that has that mindset, that warrior's mindset, but a guardian's heart to lead people, to bring people to justice, to bring people help, to be that beacon of light, to be that father, that mother, that inspiration, to be that SRO, right? You can be that next person to influence somebody to change their ways, change their life, and make an impact on their life. So it's a great profession. It's very honorable. The retirement is also very great. I mean, sometimes it's very long. It's a long career, but it's worth it. You meet a lot of people. You network a lot. You learn how to deal with people, how to supervise with people, how to work with different emotions. But it pushes you to be a better person. And I can honestly say that every day at work is a challenge, right? So you're constantly being challenged. So if you're looking for a challenge, you want to be pushed, this is the profession for you. So we'd be glad to have you, whether that's here in Durham, whether it's on the West Coast, whether it's somewhere in Midwest, we'd be glad to have you. I'm always accessible to answer any questions. So please feel free to reach out at any time, and I'll point you in the right direction.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Hey, I appreciate those words of wisdom, and I'm sure anyone listening or watching will appreciate that as well.
Yes, sir.
All right, LT. Hey, man, this has been real fun. I love that you came out and you told us that story, and get you thinking about how to protect yourself and what to think about, and that will to survive is real. Is real, because once if you would have sat there and thought that I'm done, I'm dead, you would have been.
Absolutely,
you had that will to survive. You had that will to survive.
I think across the country we talk about that will to survive, and we talk about stand and fight. Actually, I'll share this really quickly. I got a band. I need to get with you online, man. I'm gonna send you a band. We got these bands made. I got them made for anybody, really. It says "Hard to Kill," and that's my motto. That's the motto I go by. And it's not just a physical thing. It's you need to be hard to kill physically, emotionally, spiritually. All right, having that mindset of being hard to kill. I'm not gonna just lay here and allow somebody to take advantage of me. I'm not just going to lay here in my situation and not make a change. I'm not going to lay here and feel sorry for myself. Nobody's coming to save me, and I'm responsible for me. So if I want to be hard to kill, I have to adapt that mindset to continue on, stand the fight, and just be a hard body person, man. And that's it. That's in every facet of life, being hard to kill and having that will to survive and the will to go on.
Indeed. Couldn't have said it better myself, bro.
Yes, sir.
Love it. All right, man. Hey, man, I appreciate you. And hey, you be safe out there in Durham County, and keep rocking that LA Dodgers hat, and get you a Lakers one too. Get you a Lakers hat.
I have a Lakers hat too. I'm a Lakers fan, man. Don't you worry. I'm a Lakers guy through and through, man. So thank you, man. I always want to take the opportunity, man. Glad that we were able to get connected. I love what you're doing. I love the platform that you have, especially the representation that you have for Black and brown people, man. This is very, very key that we have some platform to speak out. And it's good for people to see us in this light, to know what we do, to know that there could be people that, we didn't have a voice before, but now we have a voice. We have a seat at the table. So thank you for allowing me to sit at the table along with you and discuss these things. I appreciate you, man. I got to give you your flowers. I love what you're doing. Continue the hard work. Keep showing up, man. Keep doing your thing.
Appreciate you, brother. I really do, man. Be safe, LT.
Later, brother.
All right, we'll talk soon. Another amazing interview is in the books for the Black and Blue Podcast. I want to thank Durham County, North Carolina Sheriff's Lieutenant Anthony Sharp for sharing his story with us today. And if you guys got some value out of this conversation with Lieutenant Sharp, please let me know by leaving a comment down below. Don't forget to like and share this episode as well. Hey, I'll be back real soon with another awesome interview with a minority in U.S. law enforcement. But till then, y'all know what I'm about to say. Stay black and blue. I'll holler at you. Peace.
This has been a Maitre D Entertainment presentation.